Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Late Winner Show. United just won 1-0 against Norwich City, so we have two back-to-back wins and two back-to-back clean sheets after probably, I think, 3 months. So exciting times. Definitely, it was definitely not a good performance. I would definitely say that, even though we won, and we'll talk more about the game in the match reaction video. But to discuss all this, I have 𝗕𝗲𝗓 from Devil's United channel. How are you doing, 𝗕𝗲𝗓?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you? And thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just before we do proceed with the video, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the Late Winner Show, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well for loads of content that's coming onto the channel as well. But let's deep dive into the game. United won 1-0. Ronaldo obviously scoring the penalty. But what did you make of the performance? I just felt United were just off today. I think Norwich had some moments in the game where they could have won the game. But our player of the season as of now, 𝗕𝗲𝗪, definitely came back and produced another masterclass performance.
I completely agree, 100%. I think this game, it definitely was off for us. I feel like there was some chances where we should have took them a lot better. I think some of the players, even though they had a rest, they still seemed very fatigued. Bruno Fernandes being one, Marcus Rashford being another. They were still very fatigued, even though they did have a break against Young Boys. So they still had that week's break from the last Premier League game to now. And coming up, we're going to have to rotate because we can't continue to play these players on a day-to-day basis. Ralph is going to have to rotate because we can't continue to have players on the pitch who are giving the ball away very cheaply, for one. And for two, players who just seem quite disinterested as well, because I actually did feel like in that game in particular, Marcus Rashford did come across very disinterested as well. It just felt like he wasn't there because he wanted to play. He just felt like I was there because I got picked. And he was given, when he got into the box, he was giving the ball away far too cheaply for me. And I've always been critical about that. People saying it's because he's still injured. I don't believe it is still an injury. I think it's just more out of greed because he wants to be that one who gets past defenders and shoots. And what Ralph wants to do, he needs to snap that out of him. Because this is them kind of things and stuff what's going to cost us points, are going to cost us trophies. As one example, the Europa League. If he never was that greedy in the Europa League final, would we have won it? And that is a question I'll never know, to be honest. I think the back line, very good. Very well defensively. I've been highly critical about Harry Maguire in the past, and I think he had a brilliant game.
Yes.
De Gea, absolutely brilliant. He kept us in the game. That save in particular in the 90+1 minute, I actually thought it went in. That's how I was like, oh my God, we've conceded. But he saved it, and I was like 𝗕𝗲𝗪𝗏 FC all over again. I actually think this was a better game for 𝗕𝗏𝗪𝗏 as well. I've been critical about 𝗕𝗏𝗪𝗏 this season, and I think he did play very well in today's game. He done quite a good few tackles. He got away with quite a few yellow cards as well, because there was them a couple of times where I think he should have got a yellow card but got away with it. So overall, I think he was very well defensively, and he was good in front of the centre-backs. But fair play to Norwich, because they did do very well. 𝗕𝗃𝗃 for one, Gilmour for another. They both done very, very well.
Yeah, I think we talked about it yesterday, right? Like when we were previewing the game, and we were like, you asked a very good question on what is the threat that Norwich City can cause, and we all were like, it's going to be an easy game. It definitely wasn't. But I just feel that United are still getting up to speed with this new formation, with this new system that Rangnick's going to bring. But I completely agree with you. I think Ralph has to rotate in the upcoming games, because the fixtures are coming thick and fast, and I don't really see all the players that play today playing almost every 2 days. It just cannot happen. The one thing that I really liked about United was the counter pressing that they were doing. Won the ball fairly quickly if they had it. If they didn't have the ball, I think on the ball, I felt United were off the game. Definitely, the passing was really bad. I think Bruno had a very miserable game. Rashford, you already mentioned. I think he was he had some good moments in the game, but most of the game he was really off of his game. I think same with I think Ronaldo had a couple of chances he should have scored. But obviously that I think in the 88th minute where he got the chance, I think he missed that. And I think being Ronaldo, we have like expectations whenever he's in front of goal, he just has to put the ball into the back of the net. But he's human. That's what he shows sometimes. And what you mentioned about McTominay. How did you feel again, like how McTominay and Fred actually played? I think Fred had another incredible game. McTominay from his previous game, he was a little bit better than what we had what we had seen against Crystal Palace.
I think a lot of people, especially under Ollie, because Ollie was the one who created this Mick-Fred partnership when Paul Pogba was injured before COVID, and the first game was actually against Jose Mourinho's Tottenham Hotspur, and they played well. And then once they come back, they played well for that bit of season, and then we started noticing some flaws in Mick-Fred. I do agree that we do need a midfield and a CDM in the transfer window, because we can't rely on Mick-Fred every single game, because we do know Mick-Fred can make them mistakes. Fred, for me, he was brilliant, and I actually think Fred is going to be one of them players who's going to stand out under Ralph, because with Fred, he's such a pressing player, and because the team under Ollie wasn't pressing, he was the only one pressing, and he was the one making mistakes, so he was the one who looked terrible. But under Ralph, everybody is pressing. So when he is pressing, his pressing looks absolutely amazing. And Scott McTominay, I felt like Scott McTominay was playing more of that CDM role today, and I think he was very fierce on the ball. He was very strong on the ball, because sometimes what I do find with Scott McTominay, he can be quite rash. He can be a bit of a mannequin, like he just stands there, he jogs instead of runs. And I noticed that a little bit different. He was doing more forward passing, which in the past I've always seen sideways and backward passing. So for me, I actually think this was the best game I've seen McTominay in months.
Yeah, and obviously I just want to deep dive a little bit about Rashford. I think, do you just feel that Rashford is not the player in 2-2 formation? I think it doesn't suit him, because the way that player is, I don't think it suits him to play in that in that front two positions. I think he still prefers that wing position where he would like to play. Obviously, the 4-2 formation brings a lot of things into the game that you have to do with the four players that we have up top. Like, they have to make forward runs, and sometimes they move into the wing side. Sometimes the fullbacks will provide you the width and all that stuff. But do you think that he's the best player in that position, or do you feel like when Greenwood came on, I felt he was a little bit much better, even though he was not like the like-to-like replacement for Rashford? And I really felt that that Ranić should have actually replaced Rashford with Greenwood, rather than actually doing the Sancho to Greenwood substitution, because I felt Sancho was good in the game.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed with Sancho. I think he's had a good couple of games. Last 5-6 games, he's been brilliant. And I used to think at the beginning with Sancho that maybe the top was a little bit too heavy on him, because when you've come from Manchester United, knowing how heavily he was linked for years to Manchester United, I think you just expect that automatic pressure, thinking, right, I've got to come in, I've got to get a goal and assist every single game, because a lot of people had such high expectations, knowing since 2018, Sancho's got the 3rd highest goals and assists in Europe, how well he's done at Borussia Dortmund, how well he's done in the Champions League, how well he's done for England. So I think a lot of people was already predicting Sancho's going to get 15 assists this season. And then you think, you can't do that. You've got to let him blend into the game, because the Premier League is a very tough game. And before to Borussia Dortmund, he didn't have any Premier League experience. People say, oh, he played for Man City. He played for Manchester City youth. He never had a proper debut in the first team for Manchester City. So the Premier League, just like for Donny van de Beek, just like for Alex Telles, just like for Cavani, it's a whole new brand new league for him, and he needs to adapt to that, just like everybody else has to adapt to that. And I think at the beginning he found it very tough, and he had to rely on Luke Shaw quite a lot as well. But I just feel like the more games he was playing, the more confidence he was growing. And I actually think this 4-2-2-2 formation, him being alongside Bruno Fernandes, really does suit him. And I think he is playing extremely well. That link up with Bruno Fernandes is brilliant. In terms of Marcus Rashford, I do believe he isn't that striker role. He is more of that winger role. And this is why he should be either getting dropped and being used as an impactful sub, as we know he can be used as an impactful sub, Leicester and Villarreal for examples, or it's either that or dropping Bruno Fernandes or dropping Jadon Sancho and then Bruno Fernandes moving over to the right and then Rashford's playing on the left. But you shouldn't be dropping players just based off the names and what they are doing behind the scenes, because we all know Marcus Rashford's absolutely brilliant for what he has done, but on the pitch, he isn't doing what we expect of Marcus Rashford, and it should be based on form ability and how well they're doing on the pitch, not by the name and how popular the player is, and because he's the fans' favourite. Ralph needs to be stubborn here, and sometimes you've got to drop your fans' favourite just so you can win the game. And I think the best option going forward now, drop Rashford, playing Greenwood, because he is a natural striker. He's a natural number 9, as he played that in the youth. He has played that a little bit for Manchester United. Put him on the right-hand side on the up front because he's had experience on the right wing. Yeah. So he can do that. He's good with both his feet. So either left or right is perfect for him. And until Cavani is fully fit, put Cavani up there. Because you can't drop Edinson Cavani, really, can you, for Mason Greenwood? You just really can't do that.
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah, and I think Cavani was brilliant last season for us as well. It's just, I just feel like either. I mean, I'm not gonna go here and like just batter Ralph all United, even because I think it's still third game in charge for Ralph, but like with the first team 11 that he will prefer is the second game in charge for him. I think we still, as United fans, we're happy that the win came up, because that's what we want, right? The win came up, but I think it's still going to be a little bit difficult for us to judge until at least 5 to 6 games have passed, because I don't even know if this formation is actually suiting United, because I see like Bruno struggling for the last 2 games. I don't see him in the game too much, and when he is, he's just not up to par. I would, and I've already said this, like even today, I feel like the entire United team was just off the game. I think some of the defensive performances were really good, but in terms of attack, we just got that penalty. He converted it and we won it, and that's how we need. Some of the games some of the games have to go somewhere like this. There's a question for you, Macy. Would you want Ralph to be made permanent come season end, or United needs a full-time manager?
That's a really good question there from AD, and at this moment in time, I do feel like if, for example, we do get what we need at Manchester United, if we win a trophy this season, if we get into minimum top 4 from Ralph, I'd say, give him one more season, see how he goes as a full season round. I know some people think now just put him in the consulting role because he's at the board, but if you know something is working, why change that straight away and take the risk onto a different manager who you don't know who it's going to be, how good it's going to be. But if, for example, we've still not got a trophy, if, for example, we're not in the top 4, then maybe the best solution probably will be to get a new full-time manager. I know we're going to have to get a full-time manager eventually, but I just think we shouldn't make the changes too soon if it is going well. I know it's only 3 games in for Ralph, and it can take up to about, from what I was reading, 3 weeks to adapt for a team. So I will judge it, the tactics, the style of play, probably in the next month or so. Just see how it's getting on, because, changes do take a while. But at this moment in time, I just want to see how the future holds for Ralph. And then if he does do well, then I'd say give him one more season, then move him up to the board. But if I was going to choose a full-time manager, I would personally probably go for Ten Hag from Ajax, knowing that he is one of them managers where he can lose. He's lost 5 of his players in the after the 29 season when they got into the semi-finals of the Champions League. He rebuilt Ajax back up, and look at him now. They're stronger than what I did see him in the 2019 season. I think that's absolutely incredible. He uses his youth. He's very attacking minded. He uses that formation, what people like to see as well. Whereas I know a lot of people like Pochettino at Manchester United, but I just feel like even though he's got Premier League experience, and I think that's what people are choosing more, I just don't feel like he is the right man for Manchester United, because you want someone who's got that little bit of voice who will say to a player, you have done absolutely awful today. And I can see that in Ten Hag. He drops players when it needs to be. Whereas you look at Poch, and I think right now at PSG, can he deal with all these egos of Mbappe, Messi, Neymar, 𝗕𝗲𝗪?
It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it.
And Manchester United's got massive egos. They've got still Paul Pogba. We've got Bruno Fernandes. We've got Marcus Rashford, Cristiano Ronaldo, Edinson Cavani. So you still got big egos there. So if he can't handle at PSG, who's to say he could handle that at Manchester United?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you in terms of the manager, but it's just I feel kind of a little bit different here. It's just I feel like if a world-class manager that we're looking for is available in the summer, then yes, we get him. But otherwise, I think continue with Ralph, but there should still be a contingency plan. That's the thing that I want United to focus on, because even when the started run under 𝗬𝗧𝗓 started, we didn't have a contingency plan, and that's why United stuck with 𝗬𝗧𝗓 for the next 3-4 weeks, right? And we saw what the result was. I feel like United up top, like in the up top, needs a change. There should be a footballing mind like Ralph operating, so that everything is operating in a good way. Like every person in the hierarchy knows what the responsibilities are. Right now, it's just not that. Everything is about just getting into top 4. No, we don't care about like getting trophies or not. Just getting to top 4, get into Champions League places, and that's it. I think that's their main ambition, and that's not right from what we see. Fox's focus is saying, sounds like Ralph already knows the players that he feels deserves more focus on and want to play for United, and which ones he will want to move on in January. I think that's correct.
Yeah, right. I completely agree.
Yeah. And then I'm just going to go through some comments here. But AD's saying Martial leaving in January. Yes, I think he definitely said publicly that he would like to move in January because of the lack of playing time. So
yeah, his agent said it, and it came out by 𝗵𝗪𝗻 Romano yesterday or the day before about it. And from what I was reading, it's Barcelona who's currently interested in Martial.
Another question from Fox's Focus, and it's for you again. Apart from the Timber, who I know you're a big fan of, is there any other Ajax players you'd like to see Ralph bring to United?
When you do look at the players at Ajax, you are, as much as people look at a younger kind of player, you need a player who still has that little bit of experience, and we need a midfielder for one, definitely. You do see a couple of players at Ajax who I am extremely impressed with. Timber, obviously, being one of them. I think he's very strong in that centre-back position. I do quite like Haller as well. I think he is a forward player. Alvarez as well as a midfielder. I really like him as well. There's a few Ajax players I do really like, but Ajax does have an overall brilliant squad. You do know though, if for example we do get Ten Hag or Ralph, he won't look at these Ajax players. The players who Ralph will look at, because he's already come out and said he's gonna pay for the release clause at a Leipzig player, and he said that before he even came to the club. Like, this is the player I want.
𝗕𝗲𝗪𝗓, right? It was 𝗕𝗲𝗪, right? That's been touted, right? Okay.
A 33 million release clause. So I think if Ralph is going to bring anyone in, it'll probably be players in the Bundesliga or German players who'll probably look at, or Austrian players or something. I can't see him at all looking at the Dutch league and looking at Ajax. I think Ajax players will come in if Ten Hag comes in.
Yeah. And then another question for both of us. 3 games in, 1 draw and 2 underwhelming wins. Yes. Do you see any change? Will we see the dominant United anytime soon? The problems are still there. What do you feel about that?
I think at this moment in time, it's way too early to judge in terms of Ralph, because he's only had 3 games for Manchester United. The whole formation has changed into that 4-2-2-2. None of the players are aware of how to do this 4-2-2-2. I think there definitely has been some changes in terms of the pressing play, because we didn't see any pressing play whatsoever. And knowing that we are actually pressing now, actually trying to win the ball back, whereas in the past we didn't do that. That's something, a positive change I will see. And I think I'd rather like assess it in a month's time, just see how that went on. If, for example, it's still going to be these 1-0 leads, I think even though it's still a win, especially against Norwich, you want 2 goals, 3 goals. When you looked at Chelsea, I think they won 7-0 against Norwich.
Yes.
And we can't expect a scrappy 1-0 lead against Norwich neither, because that's not us. And I just think some of it could be just due to the fact we're just not used to it. But I can see a lot of players at the moment as well are actually picking up form. 𝗕𝗏𝗪 and 𝗕𝗏𝗪 being one of them. They've been absolutely incredible. And I think that's another positive change, as well as, of course, the pressing play. So I think at this moment in time, it's too early to say how it is going. But in the month's time, and that 4-2-2 is still not working, then I will probably say I look what to do going forward, because I do believe he did play a different formation at Leipzig where he did play wingers instead of that 4-2-2, so maybe he might revert to that if it doesn't continue to work.
Yeah, I already said this, like it's been underwhelming definitely, but I think the performances, I'm not going to talk about today. I think I've already said this, that the performance today was abysmal. I think we were lucky enough. We were just lucky to get a 1-0 victory and get the 3 points on board. But I think Norwich deserved something from the game based on how they played. I think they definitely had moments in the game where they could have actually scored, and obviously, the 𝗕𝗏𝗪𝗓𝗍 saves that he made in the last minute itself, and some of the saves in the middle of the game. I think he was absolutely sensational in this game. Let's just move away from the United as well. Let's talk a little bit about Norwich City. How did you feel with this new manager that has come in the last 4 games? I think he's definitely improved the mentality in the team. They're definitely going in and actually attacking the oppositions, which we did not see. You mentioned Chelsea rolling past them. A lot of other teams have already rolled past them in terms of Liverpool and City as well, I think. But what change have you seen in Dean Smith and Norwich City?
I think what Dean Smith has done, he's for one actually using the youth players, because under Daniel you didn't see much of Brandon Williams and Billy Gilmour, even though obviously Brandon Williams couldn't play today because of the low knee situation at Man United. He's still been using him. He's noticed what is wrong with Norwich City, and it's the fact that they're very open. They're very vulnerable. They're very weak in the defence. And what he's done is gone for a 4-3-3 formation. And I think that really suits Norwich City, if you want me to be honest. And he's only actually lost 2 games under Norwich so far, which is us and Spurs. He's won a game under Norwich. And there wasn't. One of them was Brentford. I can't remember who the other win was, because he's won these 2 games this season. What was won by Norwich, and I know that was before he came in. And he's drew 2 games, one of them being Newcastle. So you can see there's definitely a change there, and I think it's going to take a little bit of time. I think it's a bit too late for Norwich City, knowing that the goal difference for one, because that is something what he needs to look at. He needs to look at getting these wins and these draws, especially the lower league of the table, like Newcastle, Leeds, Southampton. He needs to look at these kind of teams and think, this is where I need to pick up my 3 points. This is where I need to pick up these 1 points, because he knows he's not going to necessarily get the points against Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United, Man City. So he knows already that's already gone. So he needs to look at the bottom half and think, right, I need to pick these up and get as many points as I can. But I think at the moment it's still just a bit too late, because even if he, for example, he gets like 5 wins in the season, and so does Burnley and so does Newcastle get 5 wins altogether, just due to how terrible the goal difference is, that's just going to affect them massively. Because I'm looking at the table as we speak, and the goal difference is -24, and nobody has such a bad goal difference like them. And apart from that, it's Newcastle with -13, and after that, they're not even in the relegation, which is Southampton and Watford with -10. So that just shows how poor Daniel had the team and how defensive they wasn't structured. So he needs to look at, if he wants any chance of not being in relegation, he needs to pick up these points in the lower league table and he needs to work on the goal difference. And I think he'll probably need to score like 3-4 goals every game and have clean sheets if he's got any chance of surviving. And could you really see that? I really can at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for Norwich. I think the games like when they played against Newcastle, I think those are the games that they need to target. Like they have to win those games, because otherwise, yeah, if you just draw the games, I don't think like they can survive. And the other thing is, obviously Newcastle have this new owners coming in, and they're probably going to be backed heavily in this winter transfer window. So I just feel that they're going to get the players. They're probably going to. I feel like Eddie Howe will have the team which will be able to survive this season of the Premier League. And obviously, if they survive this season, I think the rebuilding will definitely start from there. I think I see a lot of chats happening, but I guess a lot of them happening about Chelsea. Loudmouth show, sorry, the Almighty Blues FC. Hi Rusha, Macy. Hey, Almighty Blues. Let's all celebrate the penalty day. Yes, I think that's definitely, we were talking about it as well. Like, almost every other game had a penalty today to decide the game, which is funny. And we were just talking to my brother and saying, Tottenham could have actually played and actually got a penalty where Harry Kane could have scored. So yeah, luck is definitely not on Tottenham's side.
Yeah, it got postponed, didn't it? The
So it's funny on there. But yeah, I would like to stop here. But who was just last one final question? Who was the man of the match for you?
1000% David De Gea was my man of the match. I think he was absolutely brilliant. He kept us in the game. He made such amazing saves. One of them, for me, particularly in that first half, he literally had his arm stretched out like that. He saved it with one hand. And the other one was on that 90+1 minute where I actually thought it went in, and he kept it in. And I thought that was absolutely amazing. He kept us in the game. He's kept us in a lot of games all season, and he's cost us from having less embarrassing results than what they already are. So 100% for me, David De Gea all day long. But after David De Gea, I would probably say Harry Maguire was my second choice. And I've been highly critical of Harry Maguire, so I never thought I'd say that.
Yeah, I think you're correct. I think those were my two options as well. David De Gea definitely standout player of the match. Next up for United is Brentford on Tuesday, I guess. I feel that's again going to be a tough game at Brentford. I think Brentford definitely are kind of struggling with the injury to their main goalkeeper. I can't remember their name.
They've lost Ivan Toney being one of them. They've lost Raya at their first
David Raya, yes.
They've lost a couple of players. I think they've got another 2 injuries or so, but I think this is going to be difficult. However, with Brentford, they are very open in their midfield, and this is what Manchester United need to take advantage of. They need to take advantage of their midfield being so open, and doing that, I would personally drop Bruno Fernandes. I played Donny van de Beek because it allows him to have freedom. Play Donny van de Beek with Matic, so he's an extra defender in front of the centre backs. And I would, even though you shouldn't drop Fred. I think he's been brilliant. I think maybe it is a game for Fred to be vested for Brighton. And I would, of course, as well, think Rashford should be there. I think Cavani might come back, so maybe Cavani might play, or maybe perhaps Greenwood should start over Rashford.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some changes required. I don't see the same playing 11 on Tuesday against Brentford. I think there might be some changes in the squad as well, but we'll see. I think definitely a good start under 𝗵𝗏𝗧𝗏. I think players still getting up to speed with the formation and with the style of play that he's going to bring. I think definitely good times ahead for United. And how many times have I said this? The fixture run is definitely on our side. It's definitely an earlier Christmas present for us. I think these fixtures present us to actually win the games and actually build up some momentum when the tougher games arrive in the month of March when we play the likes of City and Chelsea and Liverpool. So that's good. Macy, I'd like to thank you again for joining us on the Late Winners show and providing your thoughts on the Norwich versus United game. All the best for the upcoming game, and I'll see you very, very soon.
Thanks for having me.